Hello Wineabbers, my name is Jesse Meekum from You Need a Budget. Yes you do, and this is another Whiteboard Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about cash. How do you manage it, if at all? Do you even use it? If you don't, this won't be much use to you. If you do, listen for the next couple minutes. There are a couple different methods you can adopt when you're taking the approach of still following all the rules. Rule 1, 2, 3, 4, but using some cash. You can track cash as its own category. You can just say, hey, sometimes we use cash to pay tolls, to pay parking, whatever. And so I'm just going to have a cash category, and all the cash spending goes out through that one category. You can also be a lot more granular and track your cash on hand as an account in YNAB, an on-budget account, where the cash can be spread out across lots of different categories, and it makes sense to you to have that one account house all of your cash. Reconciling cash is a little bit time consuming. You're having to actually physically count it, make sure it sits right with YNAB, and then if it doesn't, make an adjustment and go on. So reconciliation with a cash account is a little bit of work. You can do neither. That means you don't have a category for cash, you don't use a cash account, and you do what I do, which is when you spend money, when you pull money out, it's usually for one specific thing, and I just record the transaction in whatever category is necessary. It's kind of like this category, but instead of having a dedicated cash category, I just record the outflow to whatever category makes the most sense. I could be more granular and say, oh, half of that'll be for babysitting, half of that'll be for this, and record a split. I don't really ever do that. We don't spend that much cash. And that brings me to my next point. How much cash are you actually spending, and should you even care about it? Our cash spending is so limited in our household that the threshold that you start to look at is what we in the accounting world used to call, well, they still do, but I'm no longer in that world, they called it materiality. Is it material? Does it really make a difference? And if you're spending so little cash that tracking it really won't bring you any value, then I'd say just when it happens, you record an outflow and be done with it. Any cash you have on hand, when you spend it, nothing happens in YNAB because the outflow was basically pre-recorded. Look at it this way with our whiteboard. Let me go this way. You have your ease of management of cash, and then you have the visibility of what your cash is doing for you. If your cash use is so low that the visibility doesn't really matter, you'll want to be down on this side of things. And then if your visibility is down that low, you don't want to have to do a lot of management, so you'll probably just use cash as a category, or my approach, just when you spend cash, record it in whatever category makes sense. If you need the visibility because you actually do spend a lot of cash, that's important. If you need that visibility, you may want to go with the account method, where you're tracking cash on hand as an actual account. Is it as easy to manage? No, but it might be worth it for you. The key is, if you have enough spending in cash where you feel like if you didn't give those cash dollars a job, that you would be violating Rule 1, where you give every dollar a job. If you feel like you're in violation of that rule, then absolutely track cash and do it right. Give every dollar a job. But if that amount is so low month to month, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like your miscellaneous category in YNAB. If you've got this kind of catch-all category and it ends up being just a tiny fraction of your overall spending, it doesn't really matter to break that category out. Once that category gets big, or once your cash spending gets big in this regard, then maybe it makes sense to break it out and get some more visibility in there, which requires a little more management, but that could lead to good decision making. And that's what we want in the end. The result is awareness for good decision making. So use that as a little bit of your measure on should I, shouldn't I. Just say, do I want to be aware of how much cash I have on hand and what that cash is doing? Will that awareness, that increased awareness, will that help me make better spending decisions? If the answer is yes, then go for it. We'll see you next week.